my name is Debbie Stewart, and welcome to Spirit Wind Ministries. Our purpose of this ministry is to let the people of Clarksville and surrounding areas know what God is doing in their community. We hear that there's people out there working, but we don't always hear the good that's being done. And that's the purpose of this ministry, is to be able to give people an opportunity to come in, share what God is doing, share the gift that God has given them, no matter what it is, to just let people know, to encourage everyone that's out there. I guess I should tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii, and was raised in Anaheim, California. We moved up to Anaheim when I was about 11 years old. I was one of 6 children. We were raised Catholic. And so when my brother became saved, his name was Craig, when he became saved, it seemed so foreign to me. He joined a Christian band after he was saved. He was a drummer and a really good singer. And they would travel all over the place, singing and ministering. And so he would invite me to come and watch their ministry. So it was really different for me. Like I said, in the Catholic Church, you went to church, you came home, maybe confession, and that was it. You didn't worship God like that. You sang some songs at the beginning of the Mass, but that was about it. So to see him up there, singing about God and talking about relationships was really strange to me. I didn't understand it, but we went anyway. My husband and I supported him. We went everywhere they went, and it was just great to see him happy and to doing something that he loved to do, and I enjoyed their music. I think what surprised me is it's the lax in the formality, I think, is what I was amazed at, is, wow, you didn't have to kneel down, stand up, and all this, so I was intrigued. He would read the Bible, and that was another thing that, we would sit down in between breaks and he would read the Bible, and he was reading the scriptures, and I'm watching him as he's reading it, and he's reading it with understanding, and that was the thing that really surprised me too, because we were taught to never pick up the Bible and read it because we would not understand it. It was the priest that had to interpret the Bible. And so here he is, he's reading it, and he's reading with understanding, he's teaching, and I was just really amazed at that. So what would happen is, after work, he'd get off at like 11 at night, and he'd come over to my house and want to minister to me and read the Bible and have like a little Bible study. And again, I like I said, I was really happy for him, but it would just seem so different that I didn't think it was for me, because if the church didn't say saint something, it wasn't a church, I didn't think. I just thought it was this stuff you hear on the TV about, these different people that break away and do these strange things. But he would come over every single night and pray and read with me. And again, I just would watch him. I was watching his demeanor, and he had so much passion regarding his new life that he found. And I remember going to bed one night and thinking, Lord, I'm so happy for him. I'm happy that he found this, and that he's passionate about it, and it's a good thing. I mean, it has to do with God, so it's all good. But I didn't think that lifestyle was for me, not the lifestyle of living for God, but the way he was ministering and worshiping. I didn't understand it. So he had come over, and he said he wanted to take me to church with him one Sunday. I did, because as we were young, growing up in the Catholic Church, we were taught it was a mortal sin then to walk into another church if it wasn't a Catholic church. So, I'm sure at that point they had changed their ruling on that, but I went with him, and the passion and the power that I felt, which was the Holy Spirit at the time, I felt at that church. And that Sunday, I went forward that Sunday, and I accepted the Lord. I heard the pastor speaking on, the what Christ had done for us in the church, and I'd heard that my whole life. We heard, well, Christ died on the cross for our sins, and the sins of the world, and so it just made it seem so impersonal because he died for the sins of the world. But it wasn't until that night or that day that I went to church that I realized my sin too put Christ on the cross. It wasn't just the sins of the world, it became personal. Now, and I realized that I was the world. I was part of the world. There was millions and billions like me that helped put Christ on that cross. And I remember coming home that night, getting on my knees, and for the first time, I really knew what it was to repent and to ask forgiveness and just cried out to God and invited him into my life and apologized that he had to do that for me too. Not just the world, but for me, I was part of it. And to realize that I helped put him up there was really an eye-opener for me. And I began going to church every Sunday to just loving the relationship I now had. I have always had an awareness of God. I always knew there was a God, and I knew he was there. But I never knew I could have a relationship. It wasn't, I'm in God's presence just when I'm in that church building. I was in God's presence no matter where I was. And it changed me. I mean, now I have a relationship. I have a Father that is with me every second of the day, who really is concerned about my life, concerned about my walk, concerned about our children that we had, concerned about the least little thing. I mean, if he even knows how many hairs are on my head, it was just, how can you walk away from that kind of love? I couldn't. I until this day, how can anyone walk away from that kind of love? It's beyond comprehension that he would love us so much, that he would come and die for us. And then I started attending a church, a different church, and it was there he blessed us with just the greatest pastor that you could ever want, and his wife. Nancy, it was Pastor Joe Magliato and Nancy Magliato, and they were pastors of Sunlight Christian Center in the city of Orange. I attended that church for 24 years, and that teaching, that commitment that they had to God, to their family, to the congregation, they took their walk seriously. They really studied to show themselves approved. They really cared about every soul that was sitting in that church. And getting that church was another whole story. It was a miracle, but God provided them that miracle, and that's where I attended for 24 years. It was my brother Craig who had informed me about Sunlight Christian Center with Pastor Joe and Nancy Magliato. He had started attending it briefly a couple of years after I got saved. And it wasn't too long after that he had started not feeling well. And this went on for a little while with his voice and his throat, because we were both in a band together. He had finally had gone to the doctors, and they had run some tests and found that he had a couple of lumps that were, on the side of his neck. They told him that, it was just because his tonsils were bad. They removed his tonsils. And 6 weeks later, the bumps were still there. They biopsied them. Ended up being a very rare form of cancer. In fact, it was so rare that he was only the 6th person in the United States that year to have come down with this cancer. He was 23 years old when he was diagnosed. And all I can tell you is, if it wasn't for Pastor Joe and Nancy with helping us with counseling, going to the hospital to see my brother, and just totally worried about our family and how we were going to process all of this information. Um, it would have been so much more difficult to go through than it was. It was hard enough as it was, but he really truly cared about my brother. He cared about my mother and how she was handling it, as my mother was divorced at the time and was pretty much alone. He even worried about me and how I was dealing with this, as he knew my brother and I were really close. And he stuck with us and with our family uh, even after the funeral. My brother passed away at 25 years old with cancer, which devastated me. I just couldn't understand why the Lord would take such a beautiful person home so young. And I guess that's things that, we don't always understand, and I may never know. But I just am grateful that the Lord left him on the planet long enough and gave him enough passion and love for me that he would continue ministering to me until I was ready to accept the Lord. Because if he hadn't have done that, who knows what would have happened. But I will always be grateful to Pastor Joe and to Nancy, and just for the love. They are not only where they are our pastors, but they are our friends. And it's very hard to find that today in any church. But I am eternally grateful to them for all they have done for my brother, from my mother, for me and my whole family, actually. And I am totally indebted to them. And that's where I got my foundation. And that's, till this day, I carry that with me. And I use that as a ruler in my life. Just the teaching, just the natural, spirit-filled teaching of Pastor Joe, who was born to be a teacher. I have yet to find a teacher that's anointed like he is. But that's where I grew. That's where I grew in my walk. That's where I learned how to love. I learned how to serve. And it was very hard for me to leave when we moved up here about 6 years ago. It was extremely difficult. It's been hard to find someone like Pastor Joe here. But I guess God's moved me to a point where now I need to learn to stand. And in fact, that's a song in one of my songs on my CD that I recorded several years ago. And so after moving here, it was a difficult move. It was, but soon after that, I finally started getting connected with other Christians and other musicians that were in ministry, and slowly, began to attend this church and help out in this worship band, and going to minister at different places, being invited to sing and minister in different places, as I still do now. We have started a ministry. It's called Community Gospel Singing, and we hold it once a month, the second Saturday of every month, at Spring Creek Baptist Church in Clarksville, address 2760 Trenton Avenue. For me, it was hard to move here because I went from being able to minister at my church and elsewhere in singing groups and choirs and you name it, to coming here and having no place to minister. And now you have all this music inside of you and you've got no way to release it, and this passion to sing. And so we started this ministry that would give other people out there the opportunity to come and share what God has given them, whether it be in singing, whether it be in an instrument, whether it be in a poem that the Lord gave them, or maybe just a desire to lift their voice to the Lord. They all are welcome to come to this, and they have this opportunity once a month to come out and share. And then after that, we have a time of fellowship little bit of food, and just a great old time listening to listening to songs being sung to our Lord, and just being able to share and being around God's people who love to do the same thing as you do. And the real beauty of this gospel singing that we do, it not only gives the musician a place to come and share the Lord, but it gives an opportunity for those who want to come and listen and to, come in and sing with us. We sing everything from gospel to contemporary, and like I said, musicians, writers, everybody's invited, and it's really a blessing. It has been a real blessing. We've been doing that for going on 3 years now. So, like I said, it's every second Saturday of the month, same time, 6:00 p.m. Spring Creek Baptist Church, 2760 Trenton Avenue. Come and join us. And also, the opportunity opened up for me to do this due to a friend of mine, the kindness of him. And so when I was approached with this, my thinking is, Lord, what am I going to do? What do? I know I sing, and I will, I'll sing a song or two at the end of each show. But then the Lord just showed my heart that I'm just gonna carry on what we're doing in community gospel, because there are a lot of groups out there, a lot of ministers for the Lord, a lot of whether it be in music or whatever their ministry is called to do. I want to give them an opportunity to come on and share what God is doing. We always hear the bad stuff that's going on in our city and surrounding cities, but it's about time we start hearing what God is doing, the miracles that's happening every day, the people that are being saved, the lives that are being touched, and that's what we want to do with this show. We want to allow these ministries to come on and talk about what they're doing, and just to share the good news, and just to encourage us to keep going on, because ministry can be very difficult. We have a lot of obstacles, but this might help encourage us to continue going. At the end of each session, you'll hear a song or two from my CD, and my second CD, which I am currently working on right now. So I'll throw in a song or two of the music that God has given me, and I hope you enjoy that. But this is basically what this show is going to be about. We just want to encourage others in ministry. We want to encourage those that, even if you're not in ministry, just to be encouraged to keep living for the Lord, to keep the faith, to keep the hope, because God is working out there. And that's what I want. We want, you to know. We want you to know that, you do have a God out there that's still alive, a God out there that's still helping and healing. So I want to thank you for tuning in this week, and hope you come and join us again next week. We'll be on every Sunday at 2:30. We just want you to be encouraged. Listen to other ministries talk what God is doing in their ministry, and hopefully that will continue to encourage you in your walk or the ministry that you're in. You'll see information at the bottom of the screen if you want to get a hold of us regarding coming on to the show, and we would love to hear from you. God bless you, and we will see you next week.
There are times in my life I don't know where I'm headed or which way to turn. All the plans that I've made create so much confusion. Strength alone. When I trip and stumble, Can't you see just how hard I'm working? Your plan out for me. You see all of my tears, all of my frustrations in this web that I weave. You see my spirit wrestle, resisting every move, not always understanding the things I'm going through. This can't be your will for me. You hear my spirit say, that's when your spirit tells me, if I would only let your spirit wind sweep over me. Spirit wind, teach me to trust in thee. Spirit wind, come and give me your peace. Come and rain down on me. Spirit wind, sweep over me. Spirit wind, teach me to trust in thee. Spirit wind, come and give me your peace. Come and rain down on me. Looking back on years ago and how it used to be, I lived my life the best I could with the God I thought I knew. Then one day through my brother's voice, your precious words I hear. This God that seemed so far away was drawing me near, and I thank you, Lord, for sending your word to me. Thank you, Lord, for giving me eyes to see. I saw your light through my brother's eyes, and your truth has set me free. Night after night, my brother came to tell me of your news. I saw the passion in his eyes, but still I was confused. Was this my brother? How could it be? The change was so unreal. I said, Lord, I'm happy for him, but it's not for me. But your plan you soon revealed.